Far as the baby formula, and shout out to the sis that dropped that recipe last week, because I'm like, I know it was a recipe that Big Mom and them used to use. I couldn't remember, and she dropped it in the chat last week, and a couple of other of the sisters put something on it, and then a couple, like the next day, it ran across my feed. One of the baby boomers, she dropped the exact recipe with the diluting, how much water you supposed to dilute. And I put it on Truth Uncompromised YouTube wall, where this person saved the card that went home with the baby from the doctor with the exact formula and water and all of that. And because what was happening on Facebook, they was flagging people's posts up to time out something, it was false news.
No, it ain't.
And so somebody has saved a little baby card that the doctor gave their mom with that particular formula. And it was just like the sister said in the chat with the pet milk. And for those of you, because I keep forgetting, I have to remember the generations, because I was telling this to somebody, she's a millennial, and not too far from me, but just to show you how each generation grow up with something different. We laughed so hard, and we was actually walking in the park. I said, no, you use pet milk, blah, blah, blah. She was like, pet milk? What the pets got to do with it? Baby, I fell out. I said, no. Like, no, not your pets, like your cat and your goddamn dogs. It's a brand called Pet Milk. We laid all the way out. So when we say pet milk, y'all don't be running to your motherfucking dogs and your cats.
Yeah, they don't make
shit. That's a brand of evaporated milk. Okay, that's a brand. So her and I were having that discussion as well. And she was like, well, I don't understand, blah, 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 blah. And that was like the day before it started blowing up. And then when she saw people posting it, she's like, oh my God, we was just talking about this. I'm like, I told you, because she works with expecting mothers. And so that's why I was bringing it to her. That's literally her job. She works with expecting mothers. And she said, well, we always consult with them, expecting mothers to breastfeed. And I said, I understand that. I'm like, but aren't there some women that can't breastfeed for whatever reason? And she said, yeah, but there's some pill. And I remember that it's some lactating pill they can get them, whatever the case may be. I said, I understand all of that. I'm just giving you this information for those women that are not going to breastfeed for whatever reason it may be, that they're not going to breastfeed. They can't breastfeed. This is the recipe. So again, this should be a lesson to us all. Do not depend on these folks to feed you. Don't do it. Y'all better be getting with some of the older people. And I'm telling you, I'm just reaching back in memory from Big Mama and them and what the hell they used to do. And it was foolproof. Because you not finna fucking starve me. No, you not. You ain't finna starve me. And that pet milk, and again, pet milk is a brand. I'm telling you, I was laid all out laughing. I'm like, you actually thought I was telling people to go snatch their animals bowl. And she had to laugh. I was like, no, that's a brand. You're not finna starve me, okay? So when we talk about, having your staples, that evaporated milk is one of those staples. Sis Sandra talked about powdered milk, and sis, I remembered that shit too. And I sure ran and got me some motherfucking powdered milk, just in case.
Because you don't need that. They got powdered eggs out there too. So just in case.
Oh, them powdered eggs are the motherfucking pits. I ain't gonna lie, I just ain't gonna eat them.
I know. You know, they used to feed that to us when we went camping in school. You know, so I had a trip to camping when I was younger, and they had powdered eggs. They were nasty, but it's something to cook with if you want to put them in cakes or bread or stuff like that.
Yeah, I could see with cakes and bread, but to eat that powdered eggs, right?
Forgot about that until you just start.
Oh, it's awful. I ain't finna lie. So that'll be my day to skip eating. As a matter of fact, I ain't gonna lie. I'm just not gonna buy that as no staple. So it is what it is. So again, fam, have your staples, you know, those essential items in your cabinet. Okay, so now that the old heads and brought y'all that recipe for the milk, watch that them damn evaporated milk, watch that shit disappear off the shelf.
Yes.
But that's something you should have had in your staples anyway. Okay.
I think you get evaporated milk too, also in dry form. I'm not sure. I have to go look in there.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I didn't know you could buy it in a dry form.
I could go check in my cabinet. I think it's dry milk. I mean, evaporated milk. Maybe it's just half percent milk or something.
Oh, I thought, because isn't evaporated milk, isn't it like a concentration?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what.
Yeah, because I'm sure you could just double up that regular milk, the regular powdered milk to get what you want. But yes, Sister Carol, I put them up on game, sis, about that baby food. How back up in the day, Big Mama and them wasn't, number one, they didn't make it. I told y'all that Generation X, my generation was the first ones that they sold that formula.
Yeah.
I told y'all that. And same with the baby food. It's because Big Mama and them made that baby food. Ain't nobody got, for what? When I'm going to the store buying, I don't know how much them little jars cost. But back in the day, I think they were 25 cents, but they were probably 5 cents back in the day. What the hell I'm gonna buy a jar this big for 5 cents when I already got vegetables that I'm cooking and I could boil the separate vegetables in a little separate pot, blend it up for the babies and put it in the jar.
Just watch your seasonings, that's all. Don't put
You don't season it.
You don't season it.
Yeah, and all you got to do is can it.
Yeah.
Can it, which you should be canning a lot of your food anyway, because, you know, canning, that stuff lasts for years.
Yeah. You can even can chicken, you know.
Yeah, but I'm a scaredy cat to can.
Well, I was a scaredy
chicken and stuff.
I did it anyway, and they still sitting in there, and I don't even eat meat.
When y'all say can, that can mean like jars and stuff too.
Yeah, that's right? What it means. That's what it means, son, Scotty. See, you gotta correct the old heads. The canning, millennials. Canning means, you know, the mason jars with the screw-on tops. That's called canning, beloved. Okay. So there's different ways that you do that, and it's to preserve your food.
Yep.
Now, Auntie Rhonda, I don't fuck around with canning the meat because I don't want you to kill over for me fucking around trying to can that meat. I don't do that, but you can do it. I can my vegetables, and if you want to preserve like fruit, if you want to make jam out of fruit or whatever, that's called canning.
Yeah, right.
Make your own.
And you can do like fermentation.
Yeah, fermented stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the basics of canning are vinegar, preserved stuff. For short-term canning that you want to put in the refrigerator, you can do salt. So if you want to do pickles or something real quick, because y'all do know that pickles come from cucumbers.
Yeah.
And then what else? What else I'm missing, Sis Sandra?
I don't know. I made tomato soup.
Yep, tomato soup.
Now they have books out there in the preservative jars, the mason jars area. They have the books on how to do it. It's very simple.
Yeah, the best canning book there is. You know what I'm talking about. Damn, what's the name of it?
I can go now and look.
I know, because I know you got it. I got it. Because I had forget how I remember my grandmother and them doing it, but I forget. So I had to go get the book, and I'm like, okay, that's right. And you can even like dry out your stuff, because like every year, matter of fact, this weekend I'm gonna put my maters in the ground, and I grow Roma tomatoes just for the sole purpose that I like sun-dried tomatoes, and that's like the best tomato for sun-dried tomatoes. And so I literally sun-dry my tomatoes, and I could do it two ways. I could just leave them sun-dried, but I like mine in olive oil with all these spices. And literally that lasts me I still got, from last summer, I still got, I think, 2 jars. But it'll last me as long as I eat them. And it's preserved by me, by the oil in it.
Oh my God. Did you see Mr. TD?
Huh?
Mr. TD, he's posting that Bill Gates is promoting his artificial breast milk technology.
Well, child, y'all can be a fool if you want to do that.
No, that's why I said, ooh.
So, yeah, vinegar. Yeah, vinegar is the huge preserving. Yes. And then somebody said the saltwater bath. Yeah, because once you put them in the salt water,
so, yeah, the salt.
That's how you seal. That's how you get that seal on that mason jar. And then once you take them out the water and they cool off, and you know it's sealed, because you're gonna hear a pop. You're gonna hear that top pop. So really, really easy. Everybody should have stuff stocked up.
Lemon too.
You can almost can anything. Just me, I ain't gonna lie, I don't fuck with the meat. Number one, I don't eat it like that, but my nerves is bad. And I don't want nobody killing over for me preserving no meat. But I do know that people.
But I'm always saying, like back when I was like young, and like my older cousins like pickled fucking like pig feet and pig ears.
Yeah, I ain't never liked that.
Some like pickled pigs, some shit like.
Yeah, that's right.
I never really heard about anybody pickling like chicken or like.
And the chicken's not even a pickle, because you put the chicken in there, you season it and all of that with the spices. Sis Sandra, do you put salt water in yours with a little vinegar? How do you do yours?
Let me get the book, I'll tell you.
That little canning book. Yeah, it's a certain way you have to do it, son Scotty, and then you still put it in that bath water.
This is science and magic and all this shit they tried to infuse in the fucking slavery story about, oh yeah, they was cooking for the massa and all this. Like, no, this is the indigenous shit.
Exactly.
And y'all came in fucking trying to disrupt and lay down y'all doctrine, Christianity and all that type shit.
With that
calling
bullshit.
people witches and trying to crucify all that type shit. Just because people naturally knew how to mix stuff of the earth, elements together, like doing alchemy. That's all they knew how to do.
Exactly. Yeah, cha-cha is the truth.
That is really good, huh?
And you know what? I still ain't made no cha-cha. That cha-cha is the truth. You eat that whole damn jar, everything like cha-cha on this, cha-cha on that. Yeah, that cha-cha.
I have seen some pickled chicken feet. Yeah, because I do be fucking with the Jamaican food. The chicken feet,
them Jamaican show do them chicken feet.
Yeah. Now, it's a ball. Ball is the preservative book.
Ball. Yep, I knew, because they make their own mason jars. Yeah.
Ball. Let me see if I can find a chicken recipe.
Yeah, but yeah, go get you a ball book. They used to be passed down, and all Ball did, let's be clear, Ball ain't came up with them recipes themselves. They got it from our ancestors.
Because
Ball.
in this community, I'm hearing, wait, how y'all talking about Ball? The motherfucker they be worshiping and shit? Do they
Ball. That's just the name of the company that one of the companies that make the mason jars. So they took all of these canning recipes and they put it in a book.
Interesting.
Okay, right now, they didn't come up with that. They didn't come up with that. They got that literally from our ancestors.
Yeah, that's all they did was wash us and survey us, steal, and then make it into a corporation.
Right, because trust and believe, if most of our ancestors were farmers, I know mine were, they knew how to preserve the food and all of that. They know how to do smokehouses and all of that. They know how to do that. So that's all that company did was got the recipes from the ancestors and put it in the book. But today, still to this day, that book is the standard for canning. Anything you want to know regarding canning, you can go to that book. And it's in there.
This one here doesn't have any salt or anything in it. You cook it yourself. It's a raw pack. They have a raw pack, or they have or they have the hot pack where you cook the meat
and then put it in. But but in either case, you still got to put it in that water bath. So
you have to vacuum seal it.
Yep, you have to vacuum seal it. Yep.
So that's just doing chemistry.
Yeah. It is chemistry because and you gotta be exact because I took some eggplant and I was doing it the Italian way. And so I put because you know the Italians, they take the eggplant and they put it in the oil, they put the spices in there and the oil and then seal the jar. And so I didn't seal it right.
Yeah, well, let's seal.
And child, but it lasted for 2 years.
Wow.
Because one of the jars I ate, I think I had like 4 jars. One of the jars I ate, and then something started stinking. I tore this house up, tore the refrigerator down, bleached everything down. I could not, I'm like, where the fuck is that coming from?
And it does stink when it goes bad.
And then up against the wall, I'm like, oh! It was that damn thingy that I did wrong. So yeah, if you don't get it right, you're gonna know, but and it becomes toxic. So of course, I just threw the whole jar out, and some people was like, oh, I would rinse that jar. I'm like, I threw that whole fucking thing out. But it's definitely a certain chemistry to it for you to do. That's why I follow that Ball book.
Yeah, they do chicken, duck, goose, turkey, and game birds. You can do all kinds of meats. Seafood.
I know people do beef. I've seen people do beef too.
They got pork sausages. They have chopped.
Because that's all in the same family, like the pickling and like the smoking. Because I'm thinking of like beef jerky and shit.
Yeah, because the smoking stuff is preservative too. When you smoke it to the point that it dries out, but you know, Papa and them used to build them smokehouses. It kind of looked like a outhouse, depending on how much meat they smoked. It could either look like a miniature shed, or like a skinny outhouse. And I don't know how they did it. Don't ask me. But that's where they would smoke the meat.
Right.
So all of that stuff they got from our ancestors. All of it. You know, so this notion today that people act like they got to depend on the grocery store and stuff, like push come to shove, you better have a skill to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So people can, the only problem is most of this stuff ripens in the summertime. That's the drawback. And
Right, but that's why the ancestors came up with canning, smoking, and drying the stuff out, because once the harvest finished, and you're trying to make all of that stuff last for the entire winter. That was the purpose of canning and doing all of that other stuff.
You make jellies and everything.
Yeah, that's the purpose, literally, of doing it.
Yeah, when I had the children home, man, that's all I did was can stuff. And I just said, go get some out the pasture over there. There's something in there. And we didn't go to the grocery stores. I just told I'm just an old type of person when it comes to cooking. And so I just do it all the time. But my thing was in the summertime was the canning part is, because that's when they grow.
Right. That's what I do. I use some of the fresh, but I purposely sit some aside for canning because I love pickled okra. That's my shit. Matter of fact, this weekend I'm about to drop 4 okra seeds in the dirt.
Yeah.
Because I love pickled okra. So I'll eat off okra all summer, but then in between my harvest, I'm going to get my jar. I'll pickle me some okra and I eat off of that all winter. Matter of fact, I only got 1 pickled okra left, and I'm like, and my baby sis loves it too. So I have to do some for her ass too. We be tearing that okra up. Yeah. And she likes the fried okra. So yeah, that's how it was done back in the day.
Yeah, that's true. People don't know how to preserve their lives anymore. We're so conditioned to the modern way they go to the grocery store and get what you want. But they have pickled cauliflower too.
Yeah, you could do all that shit yourself, fam. All of that fancy Italian stuff that they got you paying $7, $8 for. I can make that shit pennies on a dollar my damn self.
Right, portions be small as a bitch, like damn.
Right, and it don't be seasoned properly. No, bitch, I'm finna make this stuff myself.
The bare minimum, like,
yeah, and I'm finna to sit up here and slam. You got me all the way messed up. You could do all of that stuff yourself. Yes, you could do fruit, beloved. Absolutely, you can. Go get that ball can preserving book. It's got all of it in there. And you absolutely can do the fruit. Matter of fact, I dry a lot of my fruit, but I know with fruit, a lot of people make the jams out of it. They make the jam. I don't make the jams. I usually just dry mine out. I dry my fruit out. I have a dehumidifier. It ain't called dehydrator. Dehydrator. But for my tomatoes, literally, if you want to do sun-dried tomatoes, and y'all know how damn expensive them sun-dried tomatoes are. They don't even be the best cut of the tomatoes. I'm like, you got me all the way messed up. I cut my Roma tomatoes half, season them up with my herbs, turn the oven down to the lowest setting, and put them on the pan, put them in the oven, and it's gonna take you all day to dry them out. That's simple and that's easy.
I got a machine.
Yeah, I tried it with the machine, but it takes forever for them tomatoes to dry out in the machine. So I do my tomatoes in the oven, but my fruit and some of the other stuff, I do use the dehydrator. I really need to invest in a good one because the one I got isn't the best. But yes, beloved, you could do fruit too. You could do fruit roll-ups for mothers. You ain't gotta buy that janky ass fruit roll up in the store. You got some fruit fenced in to go bad, and if your baby's like fruit roll ups, you blend that fruit in there. If you want to add a little honey to make it a little sweeter, get you that dehumidifier, spread that mixture on there, dry it out, that's your fruit roll up. So they ain't doing nothing up in them stores that you can't do yourself. Nothing. Not a damn thing. That's why I told y'all to get your connect with a local farmer, and you're gonna be okay. But there's no excuse for you to say they starving you. No, you's a damn lie. You ain't finna starve me. I guarantee you that. You're not finna starve me. So, all right, fam. So, we on the anti moment. We gonna get at a little rest. Son Scotty, you have any? Go ahead on with the fuckery for the family.
No, I was just about to say, like, we need more of the anti shit. That's this shit that's missing. Like,
child, damn, yeah. I just hate y'all that grow up with Big Mama and them, and it just never occurred to me that my last generation, the last one that grew up with Big Mama and them. So we'll keep bringing this information out, because I just didn't realize that some of this stuff was lost.
And my mom and my aunts and them, like, actually, like, so, like, listen and hold on to that stuff. But, like, it was like, they was like, passing away and transitioning when I was, like, younger and stuff. So, like, they definitely made their impression, and I do have a lot of memories and stuff. But, like, at that time when I was going through it, I wasn't, like, cognizant of, like, oh my God, these are my elders, and I need to remember everything that they're doing and saying, like, at the moment. So it's like, now that I, like, have learned this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, that's what that was. That's what, like, this and that. And, like, this is why, I understand this, the way to be in the world, and, like, why shit never made sense to me, because, like, they had already put me on games. Like,
yep, it's true. And my baby sis, we have different moms. Her grandmother, she's still here, and she's 90. And I just love her, because she spits so much wisdom. So she was just tickled. Matter of fact, I got to get her seeds. Now that it's warm, I'm going to have to go over there and get her seeds, knowing her, she didn't already planted, but I got to see what she wants. But anyhow, she was just so tickled that I knew all of this stuff. And she was like, baby, you want some pickles? I made some pickles. I'm like, no, ma'am. I already have some. She's like, baby, that's right. I forgot you know all of this. And my baby sis, she just takes it for granted. She like, oh, well, whatever. But that's because she grew up with her grandmother around, and she don't even know how to do all that stuff. And I be cracking up at her. She don't have to know how to do it, because I know how to do it. Her mom knows how to do it. But it truly is a generational thing. And I forget that. And my sister, she's a millennial. She's like right on that cusp, but she's a millennial. But I forget the millennials, Big Mama and them, by the time y'all was babies when they passed away. So y'all wouldn't know that information if your parents didn't carry it through. So we'll keep that going. So just forgive us, those that know it. I didn't know these babies didn't know that. Because if somebody didn't know what the fuck pet milk was, I'm like, oh, Lord, we got a lot of work to do.
And then it's funny, because you think, like, y'all was talking about pet milk, and then y'all was talking about goat milk, and then, like, well, that's, y'all talking about actual goat milk, but this is saying pet, so what the hell going on?
I'm telling you, we was walking the park, and she was killing my ass, too, yeah. I'm like, oh, shit, we on the 3rd mile, my back, my neck, my back. But anyhow, I fell all over. I'm like, you actually thought I was talking about somebody's cat and dog? So I guess we do need to have these discussions, because it just cracks me up. Pet milk was a staple in my household, and still to this day, I can call up one of my brothers and say pet milk, and we gonna fall out, because our dad, who was a hell of a cook, he can cook some women under the table, but he would use it. I bet y'all didn't know this, where you could take that same evaporated milk, put a pan of water.
I know what you're saying.
I know, you already know where I'm going with this, Sis Sandra. Put the pet milk in there and just let it boil, let it boil. That's how you make caramel.
It's so good.
That pet milk turns into caramel. So when I see y'all go to the store and buy them bags of caramels and melt that motherfucker, you done spent like $199. You trying to melt the caramel chews. All you got to do is take that pet milk,
water and sugar.
sit the whole can in a bath water and let that motherfucker boil. And that's how you make caramel. So yeah, that part. So yeah, we'll keep talking about it. Your great grandfather used pet milk in his car. I can see that. Yeah, my dad who raised me, he used it in his cereal. Superior Minds, he used it in his cereal, and I be wanting to vomit because I did not see him dilute it. And I was like, ooh, that was too rich for me. But yep, and I ain't finna lie now. If I didn't use the recipe with some pet milk, and I ain't finished up that pet milk, I'm fencing to use that pet milk in my coffee. I sure is. I ain't wasting that.
It's kind of rich, yeah.
It is rich. You don't need that much. But yep, you could use it in the coffee too. Absolutely. Oh, you stir yours in the pot, Kels? No, the way I saw it, they didn't used to stir it in the pot. It was just literally, he just boiled that can. And that was the caramel.
Even for your turkey stuff, when you go and get your cranberries, you can make your own cranberry sauce. Water, cranberries, and some sugar, a cup of sugar, and boil it, and it'll make it.
Yeah, but you know what? I never really liked them hard, the fresh cranberries. I'm not finna lie.
But it makes great cranberry sauce. If you put that sugar in there and a cup of water and the cranberries.
Yeah, it's nothing that they're selling you in the store that they didn't get from somebody's ancestor. All of that pickle stuff, even, the Italian people, they took that from different cultures. They ain't came up with nothing.
They just making bank off of it. Because you didn't do it.
Exactly. So you better be knowing how to recreate that, because again, you're not finna starve me.
That's right.
Those are life skills. Knowing how to cook, and that's a life skill. Knowing how to grocery shop, that's a life skill. Knowing how to preserve stuff, that's a life skill. Knowing how to grow things, that's a life skill. Knowing how to build things, that's a life skill. So don't let them sit up here and tell you what you need them for. You don't. We've just gotten comfortable, that's all.
You can make your own bread too. So.
Yeah, and I'm not a bread maker. I know how to do it, but yeah.
There's a lot on YouTube now. They're doing things from scratch, like making bread and stuff like that. And people can look there and learn by watching them do it. If you don't know, they'll show you how to do it. Yeah,
YouTube. Yeah, come on, sis Carol. Tell us where the mater is. Yeah, YouTube, anything you think you can remotely possibly think you don't know how to do, you can find a YouTube video for it. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So, okay. Yeah, but you know what, sis Helenise, when I pickle my okra, it doesn't get slimy though. Because I don't like it slimy.
That's the craft part of the the cooking. Some people's recipes is gonna make it be like, oh, you know, yeah, hers be a little slimy when she make it. I like
but
hers,
some people
though.
like the slimy. I don't like the texture of the slimy. But no, my pickled okra don't be slimy. And even when because I'm gonna fry me some okra. Let's don't get it twisted. I'm gonna slam on me some fried okra. It's not slimy. So absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause I know my aunts and them used to be on, and I don't even really like the, like, maybe it's an acquired taste, but on them stewed tomatoes, and they used to be like different recipes where some was like more salty and peppery, where some was had a little more sweetness and this and that. And so, you know, like that was another thing too, like the.
Oh, sorry, brother. I apologize, Helenese. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, son Scott.
But yeah, the fact that we were so, the different variations in the way that we interacted with nature and the earth and the realm, the fact that they were able to like take all of these different stuff and profit off of it. That, like, that part is just a big fucked up part that we can't realize. Like they just been watching us all this time. It's like, how can we make money off of these motherfuckers that's not even recognizing they own? I mean, no, a lot of us do. So let's not like depreciate, like, you know, a lot of us do recognize our gifts and stuff. But like for a long time, like, you know, motherfuckers was indoctrinated, put to sleep, or just, you know, signing shit that they shouldn't have had no parts in dealing with. And like, in the process of all of that, all of our magic just got like siphoned away, like motherfucking Ursula and fucking Ariel. Like they just took our voice, took our magic, and just like, let's monetize this. And so now, like, even in that process, we think of it in a way of money. Like it's only valuable because it can make money. It's like, no, it should be valuable because it came from your soul, your spirit, and it nourishes you and sustains you and replenishes the earth and the realm. So the money factor is just some shit that was added on by them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, like you said, they literally took it from our culture. They literally took these things from our culture, you know, the shucking the peas and picking the greens. I mean, all of that's from our culture. And I was just fortunate enough that I was with grandparents that was still doing those things. And even my grandparents that moved up north, they still had a garden in the backyard. That's just the way we roll. There's not a place that I have not lived as an adult that I haven't had a garden. I don't give a damn if when I first started, I was in an apartment. I just had little pots with little herbs in it, and I would grow greens or whatever. It's a part of the culture. It's just a part of who we are. So those are the basic things that I feel we should get back to, because they've already showed you that you depending on them for a food source, they showed you what they're gonna do. And they ain't finna starve me. Because one thing I can do, I know how to go out there and throw some seeds in the ground and make it happen. And when you do that, also, you learn about the different plants and you understand how much work it takes to make stuff grow. And you also see the beauty in it.
People don't want to do that work. They want instant gratification. They want fast food. They want it now. They don't see the value in, like, you know, working the earth or doing something, you know, valuable, beneficial, and getting the benefit back from that. Like,
absolutely.
And what they gonna do? They gonna starve you, and then they gonna come around with and be the savior. They're gonna be your oppressor and your savior at the same time.
Exactly.
They're gonna starve you, then they're gonna be like, here's some hybrid food, some shit that's gonna change your fucking genetic code or some bullshit. Like, and like, so, you know, they never gonna be for your benefit. Why would you ever think that?
Exactly. And this is a very good take, Brother Hellenese. He's speaking on okra, especially with its slimy. I was once diagnosed with diabetes years ago. Okra was my go-to cure. And you know, okra literally is the go-to for people with diabetes. Now, of course, a big part of that is your diet. But yeah, absolutely. That's a known fact among, you know, Big Mama and them, that okra. And the okra plant happens to be one of my favorite from a bloom perspective. The blooms are absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. And depending on the variety, the ones I have, because I have all different types. I had a red. Y'all ever seen red okra? See, they don't even sell the red okra in the store. But I grow the red okra. But the plants, them plants get 6-7 feet tall.
Yeah, they do.
Beautiful, beautiful plants. And they will bloom until it gets cold. Somebody said that their okra got too cold and it died off. But it is the bloom is the most beautiful bloom. It's a very, very beautiful bloom. But yeah, okra is good for diabetes. Absolutely. It helps control that sugar level. So yeah, I'm sure this weekend I got to drop my okra seeds down, put my maters in, zucchini. I'm only gonna do one eggplant. I gotta do my string beans. I do about 4 or 5 string beans. I said I'm not gonna do a real big garden this year. But my grapes are probably, because my guy just came and cleaned up my beds. So I should get a good grape harvest this year. My raspberries, I'm hoping to get some plums and some pears this year. Now, remember, I did this myself. Now, I ain't gonna sit up here and lie. I ain't go out there and till and all that. Hell to the no. I paid somebody to do that. And I pay them every year to refresh my beds. But to have an edible garden, I did that. I live in the heart of the city. Mm-hmm. So if you got a little space, you can do it. And you can plant stuff that comes back every year. They're called perennials. That's what a perennial is. It comes back every year. So I have fruit trees, berries. Forgot I got the blueberry, the raspberry, the grapes, plum, pear, the apple in the front. There's literally a tree. It only grows up north called pawpaw. And it's an indigenous Indian tree. It's called pawpaw. And it comes in different varieties. And one of the varieties is like a chocolate flavor. And it almost kind of looks like a pear, but it's mushier than a pear. And they say when you bite into it, it actually tastes like chocolate, but they got other varieties. So I think I have 2 pawpaws, fig tree. I got 2 fig trees because one of them didn't make it. So the point being, you can do these things yourself. And if you have babies, get them in the garden with you. And they're gonna love it. And of course, I gotta do my greens, y'all. I gotta do my greens and my spinach. I ain't having no garden without having no damn greens. That matter of fact, I want some greens this weekend, and I'm pissed because I don't have none. That's my fault because I could have still been growing some greens. So yeah, fam, y'all could do it. Sis, hey, sis, Neri, I've never had pawpaw before. I've absolutely never had it. So I know it takes I think they said it takes about 5 or 6 years, but this year was the first year it jumped up. So I'm hoping to get something off of it. We'll see. And beans are another thing that's very, very easy to grow. Beans are extremely, extremely easy to grow. So again, there is no shortage on the planet. Shortages are created. Yes, sis, a pineapple, you can literally grow pineapple. Go to the grocery store, get you a fresh pineapple, and you know how you cut off the pineapple and it has the sprinkly thing on the end? Cut it off. You could sit that in some water, it roots. And literally, that's how you grow pineapple. Now, if you live in a warm climate like Florida, South Carolina, of course, and you're in the Caribbean islands, you could put it outside, put it in the dirt, Cali, and it's going to grow and produce pineapple. Or you can do it indoors. Of course, it's going to take a longer time indoors, but that's a pineapple is the easiest thing to grow. Yes, cut the end of it. Exactly. Exactly. So there's no shortage. You can grow turmeric. That turmeric they be charging you for in the store, you can go get that turmeric, and once you see that little eye thing on it, cut that little piece off. You can either root it in some water or stick it straight in the ground. You can grow turmeric.
Ginger,
onions. Matter of fact, I got to go pull some onions up that I guess I left some bulbs down there. And I got onions back there. Potatoes. Potatoes are the easiest thing to grow. I planted the potatoes one time. And I guess I don't be getting all the spuds up. And every year I have potatoes come back. So literally, there's no shortage. Do not let them tell you that you have to depend on their food supply. Either do it yourself or you hook up with your local farmer. Go to the farmer's market. Talk to those people. Get the connect. And shout out to the melanated people that are getting back into farming. Shout out to the generation of melanated farmers that never gave up their craft. It's a lot of them out there. I didn't think that it was, but it's a lot of them out there, and they know their stuff. They know their stuff. Now, I don't know about y'all. I'm just telling you, I know through my genealogy, and I didn't even have to go to my genealogy to know that, because I knew from my grandmother and them that we were farmers. I was just looking at some genealogy records today, and it was 1830, something like that. Occupation, farmer. I mean, literally in my bloodline, that's been the occupation. So what the hell I look like sitting around here? Oh, they surely starving me. My grandmothers would wake up out of their grave and slap the shit out of me. Like, I know you lying. You gonna sit up here and act like somebody finna starve you, like you don't know how to go out there and put a seed in the ground. I know you lying. And my dad wake up and shame me. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. So I know he proud of me with my grapes because he tried to get his grapes to grow and he couldn't do it, but mine are, my grapes are popping. Hit me up on the Gmail, Indigenous, and I'll send you a couple. I'm only gonna send you 2, 3. Cause though I think I'm kind of low on my red okra too. And my greedy ass forgot to save some of the seeds from my harvest, but I'll send you a couple. So yeah, but no, the hell with that. You don't let them tell you, number one, what you should eat. And then number 2, when you gonna eat and how you gonna eat. They don't determine that, but as long as you shop in their stores, that's the way it's going to be. And it's so much stuff out there, fam, that's been lost because we're only eating what they're putting in the grocery store. All types of watermelon, yellow watermelon, orange watermelon. It's just so much stuff that we're not even aware of or we've forgotten about because we're shopping up out of their stores. Okay, so yeah, that part. My grandfather's birth certificate, occupation farmer. Yeah, that's all I saw on my folks' genealogy records. It was farmer. Now, when it got to the 1900s and something, that's when I saw maybe 1 or 2 ancestors in the early 1900s go into the industrial side, but all the rest of them was farmers. Now, notice I said, I was just looking at the genealogy record, was 1835, something like that. Occupation farmer. It did not say slave. Said farmer. Okay, it's in your blood.
Yeah, because you know that word, when they made that word plantation and they attached it to being a slave, you know that word plantation comes from being planters. So they was literally planting, AKA farmers, on their own land and probably had their family on their own land, you know, all working together, the land and shit for the family and different houses, you know, like estates. They call them estates, you know, with these, you know, people that came in, invasion of the body snatchers, just coming in and taking over identities and titles and contracts and patents and all that type shit. And so, like, yeah, the plantation was because they were planters.
Yep. Wow. Let me, dang. I didn't think about it like that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Brother Freeman says, peace and honor, family. My wife and I grow our garden. Tomatoes, carrots. Yeah. And carrots, to me, the carrots that you grow, what they grow in the grocery store, it'll never match it. There's no comparison. You can literally pull that carrot up, wash it off, and eat it, and it's so sweet. Beets, greens. Yep, I was just talking about me some greens. I'm fired up because I could have been making me some greens this weekend. I'm fired up because I didn't go on and put my greens down because greens can take cold weather, fam. So I could have been growing greens in the fall. You can grow greens, and in the spring you can grow greens. As a matter of fact, greens start to struggle a little bit in the heat. Turnips, cauliflower. I really don't grow cauliflower like that. But yes, you're correct, cauliflower. And he said, and we live in Wyoming, short growing season. Absolutely. So I'm sure y'all get in as much as you can during that growing season, and then you store up your harvest. So yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, them new 1950 census records. One of my ancestors worked in a vinegar factory. Right, says Kale. Neri says farmer, railroad workers, and tobacco workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But before that, it was all farmers. Now, of course, I can't speak on everybody's genealogy. I'm just telling you what I found on my folks. Yes, that's some were only indentured farmers, not slaves. Exactly. Because again, I ain't found a slave record yet for my people. I just haven't found it. Okay. All right. Rainey says exactly. Second great grandfather had passed down his 80 acres. This was 1895. Wow. That's nice. That's really, really nice. Much respect.
Look at the date. They
Huh?
said, look at the date, 1895. They said we were slaves.
Right. How they get 80 acres?
Yeah, we had no property. My grandparents had lots of property too in Texas. They still have it. So, you know, where did they get the scenario from? I don't get it. But, you know, they made it up. Like, you know, what's his name? Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, he can go somewhere, girl.
All that stuff up. So they said we were poor. But the ones that were in the South was made to leave the South and went to the cities. And that's how they got poor.
I agree, because in our particular bloodline, you know, it depends on both sides. Some went up north to quote, work, but you had some that stayed in the South.
Yeah.
And I always thought that they lived better in the South, although that may sound weird to some people.
It is.
But I always felt that they lived better.
We had plenty of food and
plenty of food. And a matter of fact, when they would come visit us, they would be like, y'all up here starving. They would be appalled. They would be appalled. They like, y'all up here starving. Because they just weren't used to that. Like I told y'all, cereal for breakfast and all of that, they just wasn't used to that.
Right. So, you know, they had inflation and they put them in tenements, you know, they call them tenements back in their day, I think. And that was projects to nowadays.
Right.
And so when you live in a concrete project, you're not going to be able to grow nothing.
But you know them early projects, go pull some of them pictures. You know how they have the courtyards? They had gardens.
Yeah, but you know,
I was about to say, because
Big Mom and them that went into them projects don't think that they didn't have no gardens.
Yeah.
That was before all the crime and the drug infestation. But you go pull them early pictures of them projects and them courthouses, they had them garden beds and they were growing food there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just about to say, like, I experienced, like, growing up, like, on the East Coast, Baltimore, then moving to Georgia, and just seeing, like what the projects look like when you were in the East Coast and they stacking them on top of each other and stuff like that, as opposed to, like, a lot of time down south, like, it's like little, like, houses connected to each other on a whole bunch of land, like, just
they call those row houses.
Yeah. And so, like, and a lot of times they had, like, a lot of land. Like, it was like a big ass backyard. And so now that makes sense, because, like, when they was created, like, it wasn't just like, oh, this was the project. It was like, no, this was just a different type of, I guess you could say, like, subsidized housing or some type
right.
of shit. But they feel like, oh yeah, we know that by nature you guys are farmers, planters. So, like, even though you may be living in a so-called project, we still gonna give you the land to grow on something.
And even if they didn't, literally in Chicago, and somebody, Rainey says, that's the truth, because my grandmother's sister sure had one herself right in the hood of Chicago. I'm just telling you, you look at them pictures. Now, I can't speak for New York. I'm telling you in Chicago, because Chicago had those stack high rises. They had 3 types of the projects. They had the stack high rises with the 17th floor. Don't tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anybody that been in the projects with them stacks, you know it was 17 floors. Tell me where the lie is. And in the middle of it, you had those buildings. You had a courtyard. Go back and look at those early pictures. You'll see playgrounds and you'll see garden beds. I am telling you, the ancestors, even back then in them early days, they built a garden in those courtyards. Then you had the short stacks, and they call it short stacks because it was half of the tall ones. And then you had the row houses, what son Scotty is describing. And some of them had like the big backyards where here's one row house, here's a yard space, and then there's another one. But in the front of them, they still had a patch of land. They were still doing gardens too. So I'm telling you, those first generations that went in them projects, they still had them some little miniature gardens. It was only when Big Mama and them started passing, and if you peep game, that's when the project started getting bad too. Because back in the day, when our family moved up north, they went in the projects. That's how my parents met, in the motherfucking projects, in the worst project in Chicago, Cabrini Green. But they were the first and the last in Cabrini Green. It wasn't like what the hellhole that other folks went through, because you still had Big Mama and Papa and them, and they wasn't motherfucking playing that.
Yeah, I went to one in New York, and I really was afraid to be in there. It was all cement. And I'm like, how you guys live in this joint? And I went to visit my my daughter's friend, and it was all cement, and it was elevators and long dark.
And that's how the Chicago ones were too.
Yeah,
it was. I'm telling you, all cement and the wire damn thingies. It was there too. But I'm only telling y'all what my parents told me, and we had one set of relatives who stayed there. And they stayed there even when it got bad. But even with that said, you could not go in them projects when it started getting bad. You couldn't go in them projects without being sanctioned. And so my aunt, and I'm not going to call her name out on the air out of respect, but you knew goddamn well you better not fuck with none of hers. Literally, but they were the only last cousins, and I don't know why they didn't move out the projects. I don't know why they didn't move out, but they stayed there. But even with all of that said, none of her children were in gangs, none of that. And we used to go over there and visit them and stay the night, and we didn't get to stay the night over people's house like that. So I'm telling you, we saw the progression of the problem. I didn't personally see it. I'm telling you what my parents told me, the progression of the projects declining. And that happened once Big Mama and Papa and them died. But it did not used to be like that. Not when they first opened up. Now, it still wasn't the ideal place to be. And, my papa and them knew that. And like, nope, we got to get the hell up out of here. But I'm telling you. So again, even with the hood to this day, we have to be the ones to stop all of this foolishness. Because the hood, it didn't used to be like that. I'm just telling y'all, it did not used to be like that. And it doesn't have to be like that. So I'm never going to vary from what I say regarding family. If you can't keep your family together, what's the point? We have to have healthy families. And as long as we sitting up here lying to ourselves, putting it on everybody else, and our families are in shambles, you're going to keep getting the same results. We have to be the ones to take care of our families. It's not anybody else's responsibilities. They're not going to give, why would you expect your oppressor to give you programs, to give you this or that to help you? That's not how that works. Okay? So just giving you all some, going back down memory lane, just letting you know that didn't used to be like that, fam. It was always dysfunction, don't get me wrong, but getting so far away from just fundamental root stuff, it's not good. No. It's not good.